Welcome back to video 4 of our desktop UI automation series. Let's keep the momentum going as we jump into the next interesting steps. In the last session, we learned how to automate the process of creating new contact in demo desktop application through data-driven approach. We then verified the new contact creation. We learned how to use subflows and make our automation efficient and easier. To watch the lesson again, you can check the link in the video description. Today, we'll learn how to automate the searching, processing, and validating the list of element in the demo desktop application. We will learn what is Strategy Editor in Leapwork, what is its usage while working with list of elements, and how does it function. Along with this, we will learn about set variable and get variable blocks in Leapwork and how to work with them. So, let's get started and take your automation skills to the next level. Before we begin, let's understand the scenario overview, which we will be following in today's tutorial. In today's scenario, we'll start by searching for rows that contain the keyword Ben. Once we get the matching rows, we'll carefully observe the data and focus on the amount column from all the rows found. We will gather amount from each row with the help of Strategy Editor. After gathering the amounts, we'll sum up the values and compare the total to a predefined number that we'll set. This will include the use of set variables and compare block. If the total amount is greater than the predefined number, we'll consider the case passed. This approach will demonstrate to you how to automate searching, processing, and validating data in the list of elements using Leapwork. Let's get started to create our automation flow. We will continue from the stage where we open the demo desktop application through Subflow. You can see here that there's no pass block, so understand that if you are not using pass block in your automation flow, it's not that your flow will not run, it will still execute. But using pass block indicates the completion criteria that yes, it's met, and automation is completed, so it's important to use. For now, since I have taken the flow till subflow block, that's why I will continue from here and add the pass block in the end. To continue, with the help of Start Recorder block, capture search box in demo desktop application. Select Set UI Element block. In text value, enter the text as Ben. The type is text, click on Apply button. After this, we have to click on Go button since we have to search the results on this keyword. Capture Go button. Select Click UI Element block. Type is left. Click on Apply button. And yes, we can see the resulting rows that have the data matching with keyword Ben. Now this is the data where we will implement Strategy Editor to search values and process it. Let's proceed further. Now since we have to find the individual rows, we will use Find UI Element block and then apply Strategy Editor to find each row. Capture the first element of first row that's company's name Bennett Consulting. Select Find UI Element block, close, and save the recording. We can see that our flow is created to find UI element block. Now it's time to use Strategy Editor to find each row. Before we continue, let's understand what is Strategy Editor. As you can see, its name is Strategy Editor because it helps you edit the strategy and plan your approach how to work with data. For example, if you're automating a process where you need to, let's say, check orders, you can use the Strategy Editor to pick only the rows that match your criteria, like pending orders. This way you don't have to scroll or search through each row manually. Strategy Editor will do for you. You can focus on exactly the data you need. It's like with the Strategy Editor, you set the rules, and it finds the data you need, making your automation tasks in Leapwork more efficient and targeted. Let's see how it functions. Click on Find UI Element block, click on Edit Element. And here's the Strategy Editor opened. You can see there are two sections. On the left-hand side, these are different strategies to work with rows and its elements. While selecting the strategy, it's very important to understand for what condition you have to edit the strategy. In this scenario, we have to find the whole row, so we will edit and select that particular strategy. Let's say I am selecting this strategy, corresponding to it, you can see on the right side, it has 4 strategy elements: data grid, data grid row, custom, and text. In the strategy editor, a data grid is a table. A data grid row is a single item in that table. Custom text lets you add simple labels to help recognize rows, and child refers to extra information related to a main row. Click on Validate. Clicking the Validate button checks if the results match the conditions set in the strategy. Click Select Window. Capture this entire window. We can see we have got the structure details of the window we selected. The Select window in the strategy editor filters the rows based on specific criteria so that you focus on the targeted data for your automation tasks. Let me adjust this strategy editor window. Yes, you can see that only one cell is selected. But as per our scenario, we want the whole row to be selected. That means to find the whole row, we have to edit the strategy. Simply remove custom and text elements from the strategy. Now we have data grid and data grid row. If you want to see that on this strategy, what element of the table is being selected, click on Validate button. Let me adjust this window. Yes, you can see now the whole row is selected. This is how it works. Let's get back to the strategy editor. Over here, it's written 1 of 1. That means currently only one row is being selected. But since we have to find 3 rows, or we can say we have to work with 3 rows, that's why we will make little more edits to our strategy. Change the selection to child. Now it will iterate through all rows. Click on Validate. And you can see this has changed from 1 of 3. That means currently it has selected the first row out of the 3 rows. Let me show this. And yes, we can see the first row selected. Click on this arrow and you can see the second row is being selected. If I click arrow again, the third arrow is selected. This is how it shows that our strategy is successfully ready to iterate through all the rows. Let's click on this arrow to put the selection on first row again. Click on Save button. Our strategy has been saved. Expand this block and set use occur to all so that all the 3 rows will be looped in. Now Find UI element block will read all the rows one by one. This is how we can build the strategy to work with list of elements based on any conditions we want. Using the Validate key, we checked whether the results based on the conditions we had set were correct or not. Now it's time to capture the amount field. Capture amount field from, let's say, the first row. Select Get UI Number block. Click on Apply button. Save and close the recorder. Let's edit the strategy for amount field because we have to collect the amount from each row. Right now you can see the selected strategy picks the exact number. But our condition is to read number from each row. Let's select another strategy. Yes, this one. Since in the Find UI element block, we have already told strategy editor to read all rows. That's why in this strategy we will remove data grid and data grid row and keep the rest. This strategy will read amount data from each row. Click on Save to save this strategy. Now connect Found Element property of Find UI element block to Source Element property of Get UI Number block. This means Get UI Number block will read the data of the row coming from Found Element property. Now that we've built the strategy to fetch the amount from the rows, it's time to sum up the amounts and compare them to a predefined value. Use the Set Variable block to store values for use throughout the process. Name the variable total amount. See, we will be keeping the variable name same in both set and get variable blocks. This is done to keep everything organized and clear. Let's say, when you set a variable, you're saving a specific piece of information, like a number or text. By using the same name when you get that variable later, it's easy to remember what that information is. Think of it like a labeled jar. If you label it cookies when you fill it and again when you take from it, you'll always know what's inside. This makes your work more straightforward and reduces the chance of mistakes. So, we have named the variable as total amount. This will hold the current total plus the amount from the row using the getUINumber block. Add a calculate block. Connect number found from getUINumber to value A. Now, each amount value from each row coming from getUINumber block will be passed to value A. Now let's connect getVariable block and connect its value to value B property. Keep the variable name as total amount. This block will read the value stored in the total amount variable. Now connect the value property to value B with the help of blue connector. Remember, blue connectors pass the values from one block to another. Here, it will pass the value of total amount stored to value B. The calculation method is set to A plus B. That means it will return the sum of value A and value B. And connect the result number to the set variable block. This will store the result of some calculation in total amount variable. Expand find UI element block and after all rows are processed, connect completed to a compare block. And yes, here's the compare block added. Let me adjust the view. Connect getVariable to value A. Doing this, the value of total amount stored after all the calculation will be passed to the value A for further comparison. And enter 40,000 in value B using greater than for comparison. If the total exceeds 40,000, the compare block passes and you connect it to the pass block. If not, the flow will fail. Let's connect the pass block to compare block. So our flow to calculate the sum of amount values from each row is created. In summary, let's understand the logic again. Firstly, through find UI element block, we read all the resulting rows which we got when we searched with the keyword Ben. After that, to iterate through all the rows, we set the occurrence setting to all. With the help of getUINumber block, we fetch the amount from amount column. We then use the calculate block and set the calculation method as A plus B. Then we took setVariable block to store the value of total amount. Then we added getVariable block to read, or we can say retrieve the value of total amount stored. In value B, we entered 40,000, which we have set as the predefined value for comparing with value A. We set the comparison method to greater than and connected the pass block. If the value A is found greater than 40,000, our flow will pass. Now, let's run the flow. See, this logic was one method to work with list of elements in desktop application. You can think of several logics and create an automation flow to work with list of elements. We can see that the flow passed. If we check the activity log, and let me show you the log messages one by one. Yes, we can see how the amount values from each respective row are getting added to the total amount. We can see that the final value of total amount is greater than 40,000 and hence our flow passed. So yes, this is how easy and interesting it is to use Strategy Editor to work with the list of elements, especially when you are dealing with a lot of data and you want to deal with only selected data in the whole collection. In this tutorial, we studied about Strategy Editor. Then we learned how easy it is to modify the strategies based on the different conditions and requirements. We learned how to use the set variable block to store values, which really made it easier to manage data across the flow. It also played a key role in calculations, such as summing amounts from rows, and in comparisons, like checking if the total exceeds a predefined value. We learned about get variable block that retrieves and uses the value of a stored variable within your automation flow. We saw how it extracted the value of the total amount variable and passed it to value A for further comparison. Try this exercise at your end and see how Strategy Editor and variables work. This was all about today's tutorial. Stay tuned for more interesting videos where we will bring more concepts and help you master desktop UI automation with ease. For any doubt, feel free to contact us through Leapwork support or connect via live chat. Thank you for watching, and remember, with every click brings you close to innovation, turning complexity into simplicity.